Welcome to physics. The point of this video is to get you familiar with the resources you have, the assignments you might encounter, and also, most importantly, how do you do well in this class? How do you get the A? So first off, we have a Google Classroom. Now this isn't your Google Classroom, it's a copy of it, so I can use for example purposes, but you will have your Google Classroom. Most things will be found on there. Typically, assignments not be posted on the stream itself, so you might have to go into classwork. Let's talk about in the classwork section. In the classwork section, we have several sections. We have standard spreadsheets, unit guides, homework, projects, class information, and there very well may be other sections added at a later time. What we're going to take a real close look at is this one called standard spreadsheet. Each student's going to have their own spreadsheet. So it's going to be like standard spreadsheet dash your name, or maybe your name then dash standard spreadsheet. Either way, each student has their own copy. You will not have editing rights to this spreadsheet. Only I will be able to edit the spreadsheet, and it's essentially where your grade is stored. Let's take a deep dive into it. Looking at the spreadsheet, we got a lot of information going here. One thing is this is going to be replaced with your name instead. So first name and then last name. Each student, like I said, is going to have their own copy. If you do not have a copy yet, you will get one assigned to you eventually. When I first made this, the classes weren't 100% settled. Some people joined later or got switched out. So you will get your copy eventually. What we have is a column of the standards. The standards are essentially what the state says you need to know in order to say that you can do physics, in order for you to pass the class essentially. And there are quite a few. In the first semester, we're actually only going to cover less than half of them. So it's a possibility that we might not get to every single standard, but that is the goal of getting to all these standards. And these are divided into two sections. We have disciplinary core ideas. This is like the knowledge, just do you know things? And then we have the science and engineering practices, which is basically, can you do science? Can you do an experiment? Can you, but also engineering. Can you design something? Can you build something? Can you test your design? So that's science and engineering practices. For each of these standards, you're ultimately going to get a score between 0 and 3. The first standard is PS2-0. And its description is, I can model the motion of an object using algebraic expressions and use the model to make predictions about an object's motion. So it's all about an object's motion and how do we mathematically identify it. If you look down at the bottom, there's these tabs. Each tab represents a standard. And you can actually get to them by just clicking on over here where it has a link, and you can click that and it will bring you to your tab. Okay, breaking this down. On the top, we have the essential standard, or not the essential standard, the essential question. So on the top, we have the essential question. This one is, how can we model real-world motion using graphs, data, and mathematics? How can we represent motion mathematically? That was the purpose. We have individual learning targets. Each standard is broken into individual learning targets. For example, this one standard has PS2-0.1. I can calculate the velocity or acceleration of an object using displacement or velocity. Notice the wording. It's framed in a I can statement. So the idea is your goal is to be able to do what it says you can do, the I can statement. So if you can demonstrate that you can calculate the velocity or acceleration of an object using displacement or velocity, then you will get a score for that. That represents how well you can do that. Let's talk about the scores. So first off, we have a 0. A score of 0 means you literally did not show me that you could or could not do it. Maybe there was a test and you just didn't show up to the test. Or maybe you did show up to the test, but you literally knew nothing, so you wrote IDK. You didn't even try. It wasn't even a valid attempt. That's a 0. There should be, theoretically, very, very, very few zeros. Almost no zeros at all. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The next one is a 1. Notice also this spreadsheet is color-coded based on the number. So a 1, what does a 1 represent? A 1 represents you gave it an earnest try. Maybe you know some of the material around this, but you're still very lost. You need major help in getting to the correct answer. You're familiar with some of the concepts, but not nearly all of them. You are beginning, and that's what we call it, beginning. So that's a 1. A 2 is where most students are often going to be after doing some learning, after doing some assignments, after attending class. A 2 is essentially you are developing. That's what we call it, developing. That means you're getting the idea. You can get to the right answer with only just a few hints, or maybe you can get to the answer but not reliably, maybe only like 50% of the time. There's no hard number with that, but it's just you're not always going to get the answer. you're approaching it. You're so close to getting this idea, but you're just not quite there yet. That's developing. And then finally, the last score that's possible is a 3. And a 3 represents you got it. If the objective says I can calculate the velocity or acceleration of an object using displacement or velocity, and you can do that, and you can show me you can do that, you get a 3. Notice how it has, I've been filling in scores here, and there's multiple places for scores to be. So you're going to be tested on these learning objectives multiple times throughout the school semester. So maybe once right after we learn it, maybe once in a unit test, and maybe once towards the end, towards a final. You're going to get a score each time. So let's say you got a 3 the first time and a 2 the second time. Notice what happens to the right. The right took the most recent. It's always going to take the more recent score. That's actually what this crazy formula up here is doing, is it's looking at what this over here is and giving you only the most recent score, which can be good. For example, instead of a 3 and a 2, let's say you started with a 1, but then later you were able to show a 3. It's like that 1 never even happened. You are a 3, because ideally a student shouldn't be held back just because they did not understand a concept the first time. All that matters is that you eventually do learn and you eventually do master these learning objectives and standards. So notice as it goes all the way to the right, it gives us an overall score for that learning objective. And if we go all the way down, we have an overall score for the standard. The overall score for the standard is what you're getting on that standard. So let's say we have a 2 here and a 1 or a 3 here and then a 1 here. Notice what happens. This overall score is a 1. What this is saying is, your standard score is only as high as your lowest. You need to master all the learning objectives in order to get an overall score that is a good one. That represents mastery of these learning objectives. And also notice what happens when we go back to this page. This page automatically updates with what your score is. So this whole thing is being updated. All I'm doing is inputting stuff here, and it gets updated over here, and then up here, and then all that goes over here. So that's going to happen for each and every learning objective. You can look into the different learning objectives, and you can see that there's different standards, and you can see that there's different learning objectives. What you might also notice is that there is a homework completion here. Now, homework does not factor directly into your grade because, well, we actually haven't talked about this yet, but how is a grade determined? Let's put some other scores into our spreadsheet. So I'm just putting some scores, peppering the spreadsheet with some scores, mostly 3s, but some other scores. Let's go back here. So right now you have a 1, a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 3. Your overall score, a grade in the class is going to be a D. Why is that? In the grading system, if you have any 1s, your grade is set to a D. It's not optional. None of these standards are optional. You have to at least start developing in each of them in order to get a passing grade of this for this class. But that's not hard because, I haven't talked about it yet, you have almost unlimited reassessments. I haven't gotten to the reassessment part yet, but I can see students freaking out right now. Don't freak out. You have lots of opportunities to show your mastery. You can keep trying again and again and again and again, and guess what? Your previous scores get eliminated entirely. So as long as you do better, you will get a great grade. And you have unlimited chances to do that. Editing Martin here. I just forgot to mention, how would you get an F in this class? Well, the ways to get an F in this class is if you have a 0 on any of the standards, or you have more 1s than you have 2s or higher. Going back to the grade. So right now it's overall going to be a D. Okay, let's say you reassessed on this 1 right here and you got it to a 3, but you know, it's still, or there was a 2 here. So overall it's still a 2. We go back over here. Now you got a 2. Your overall grade is a B. Why is that? Well, I forgot this one down here that we put a 3 into. If half of your standards are 3s or higher, sorry, there is no higher than a 3. If half of your standards are 3 or more than half are 3, you will get a B. If less than half of your standards are a 3, you'll get a C. So a C is you have at least 2s in everything, but you have more 2s than 3s. A B means you have more 3s than 2s. And an A, of course, would just be you have all 3s. Going back to that homework completion portion. So yes, homework does not factor it directly into your grade, but why should you still be doing homework? Well, first off, that's part of how you learn. How you learn is by doing the assignments. You will do better in your tests if you practice. And how are you going to practice? By doing the homework. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that in order to reassess, you must have done the assignment related to that standard. So let's go into a standard, and you notice there are 2 assignments. Your homework in this class, besides working on projects if you need time outside of class, which is very possible you might, your only homework in this class, besides that, and studying, is going to be notes and practice. And I'll show you in a moment where those come from. So long as you do the notes and you do the practice, then you can reassess on this standard. There is a few more details to that I'll cover in just a moment, but reassessments are locked behind doing the original assignment for this learning objective. Going back to the Google Classroom, we have some other things we're going to cover. One of the other most important documents you're going to find here is we'll do the reassessment policy first. The reassessment policy is basically, what do you have to do in order to reassess? So first thing you have to do, and this is the shortened version, TLDR means too long, didn't read. So if you wanted the shortened version, this is it. First thing you're going to do is pick an objective. So go back to your standard sheet, find the one that you're struggling in. Let's say, I don't know, it's right here. I can calculate the vector sum of momenta for multiple objects in a system. And you're going to pick that one. Then complete the notes or practice if you didn't originally. So if you didn't do it originally, you need to do it now. Yes, that technically means you could just never do it, but that means that you have to have passed the first time. If you're that confident that you got it, I guess you don't have to, but you're taking a risk. You might as well just do the notes in an assignment and do better the first time. You got to complete the notes and practice. Then you're going to study. You're going to schedule a reassessment. You're going to meet with a teacher. You're going to show the work that you did to prepare for that meeting. So you're going to do something to improve your understanding. One of those things could be to complete the notes in practice if you didn't already. But if you already did that and you're still needing to reassess, then you need to do something else in order to show the teacher that you've tried fixing the holes in your knowledge. And this document has a lot about what that could be. So let's take a look right here. That's this section. Once you've identified the learning objective you wish to reassess on, you must do something to remediate your knowledge, meaning to make better, and have completed any assignments relating to that learning objective. Here are some examples of what that might look like. You could attend some practice problems. You could watch a video or read a section of a textbook about the subject and take notes. You could have an AI create a quiz for you and attempt said quiz, or have it create a lesson for you and read through its description and have a little dialogue. Actually, one of the most powerful things about AI is that you could have a dialogue. It could present something that you're unsure about, and then you can ask it further questions like, hey, what did you mean by this? And then it could expand on that. Now, of course, not everything is right in an AI. You've got to be careful about that, so maybe check other sources as well. But ultimately, if you do come to me and something went really wrong, I'll be able to tell you what happened and how the AI was wrong. Usually it's not 100% just wrong. Usually it's the wrong circumstance to apply something. Or maybe it's using a different method that we're not familiar with. So just be careful about AI on that sense. But it is a valid tool. You can attempt to teach a fellow student or have another fellow student attempt teach you, and you have to take notes though, or do something. And have them give feedback on your lesson. There has to be something active you are doing. You cannot just sit there and watch a video because, first off, I will have no idea you did that. I need proof, evidence that you did something to fix your knowledge. And then second, it has been shown that if we're active in learning, we are more likely to learn, be successful in learning. And honestly, I'm open to any other method you can think of as long as it's active in some way and you can give me visible evidence that that actually happened. So find some way of fixing your knowledge. Send me an email saying, hey, I would like to reassess on the standard, and do it a time. Well, what are some of the times you could possibly be doing it? The whole point of UTime was created exactly for this. This is exactly what UTime was created for. So you're going to make a pass to come see me and I will reassess with you. You could also do it during many of the Mondays. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that 100% of the Mondays will be this, but my plan is for a lot of the Mondays to be a good day to do some reassessments. Maybe I'm checking up on students. Maybe you're looking into your spreadsheet and figuring out what standards you need to do better on. Maybe you're making a goal for the week. So it's really a goal setting day and a reassessment kind of day. That's a great day for this. 15 minutes after school, if you can catch me and I'm still around and not needing to go to a meeting right away, no problem. That's a great time to just do it. I'm usually available during lunch too. It's not a guarantee though. I could have meetings. I could have a birthday in the department that I need to go to. But if you catch me during lunch or if you email me and I say that should be fine, then I should be there. You can also do it during class time. However, it's not guaranteed, and you must be done with whatever I'm asking you to do in the class. So classes will usually have me teach you something a little bit. Maybe there's a practice problem to do. Maybe you should be working on a project. If you truly find yourself without anything pressing that you need to do assigned by my class, then yes, you could do some reassessments, assuming I have time too, because remember, there's a lot of other students that I got to pay attention to. All right, you show up at the scheduled time with the physical evidence, you reassess with the teacher, you get the new score. Now the new score will override the previous one, even if it's worse, but guess what? You just do it again later. You have almost unlimited attempts. The only cutoff is that grades need to be due by the end of the semester. So that's the only true cutoff, is the end of the semester. Don't wait though. If I have too many students coming to me for reassessments by the end of the semester, there's not a guarantee you'll have time, and the grade you have is the grade you're gonna get. So that's how you reassess. That policy is there for you on Google Classroom. You can check it and see what's available. It should really alleviate a lot of the stress. It's all about how much effort do you put in. How much effort you put in is how much you're going to get out. The second document that I really need to talk about is this unit guide. Most units are going to have these guides. There's a lot of important information. This is kind of your one-stop shop for a lot of these things. So in this unit guide, we have the essential question, we have the learning objectives, and then we have a self-assessment. I'm going to want you to fill this out before you do any reassessments. It's basically score yourself. What do you think? Do you think you're a 1? Do you think you're a 2? Do you think you're a 3? Do you think you got this? Are you a 3 in this particular learning objective? And also, before you reassess me, you're going to talk to another one of your students and maybe demonstrate your knowledge to them and have them score you. What did your peer tell you? So maybe you think you're a 3, but then you try to explain the concept to one of your fellow peers, one of your classmates, and they say, no, that's kind of more like a 2. You got this wrong here and there. That's good feedback. You should ask for that feedback. That's going to be really helpful for you. Also, because there are lots of you and only one of me. So if you can all help each other, assess each other, and get ready for the assessment and reassessment, that'd be perfect. Some other resources in this document, we have the pacing guide. So if you want to see about how long I think each section of the class is going to take, each of the units, you can figure it out there. Now, this isn't a guarantee. We'll probably deviate from this. There's a practice test. Each standard has a practice test, so you can take a look at the practice test from day 1. Take a look at it. Maybe you can ace it already. That's awesome. And then there's a project frequently asked questions. This is the same for every single unit. Each unit's going to have a project, so this is some frequently asked questions about the project, and you can read that. Now, speaking of the project, what are you going to do? Most times, it's going to be up to you to decide what you want to do the project on, as long as it's about the overall standard, as long as it addresses this essential question of the overall standard. So project ideas are going to be listed here, and these are going to be, let's say you have no idea what you want to do. Here are some suggestions. In the past, I've just told students, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do a project on verifying Newton's second law. That's very boring. It doesn't allow any choice of yours. So this system is going to allow a lot of choice. However, too much choice and students get paralyzed thinking, I have no idea what I want to do. So here are some suggestions you can do. The first project, though, we are all going to do together. So that's why I've boldened this one. We're going to do the same one together. And this is so that I can show you how this works. And lastly, the most important section is right here. Each of these breaks down the learning objectives and gives you important information about them. This is where your homework is. I repeat, this is where your homework is. First off, you have a lesson video. If you click on that, you'll be brought to a YouTube video that is most likely me. It's most likely one of my videos that I made going over the subject, teaching you it. You're going to take notes on that. That is what I meant by notes. So you're going to take notes on that, and then notice there's practice problems. Each learning objective, my goal is to have some practice problems for you to try. So you're going to click on that, you're going to go to the practice problems, you're going to try these practice problems, and then usually they'll also have a set of solutions. So you'll open up that and check your work. Lastly, we're going to have some other resources. If there's other resources like resources from the textbook or resources from an online textbook, for example, OpenStax is what we're going to use a lot of times for an online textbook. It'll be here. Maybe there's another video. Maybe some other YouTuber does a great video about this subject and I post it here as well. Because maybe my explanation doesn't quite click with you, but there's another explanation. So other resources there. These are your main homework assignments, the lesson video and the practice notes. And then if you want to learn in other ways, or if you're still not mastering it, or hey, this is another place to go for more practice problems or other places to watch things. So when you go to reassess, you can do something about that. And that's about it. The whole class is going to work like this. You take notes and do some practice problems on a learning objective. We come into class, we maybe practice it a bit together. We maybe do a problem, maybe I give a little lesson about it, and then we work on our project probably for the remainder of class, or if there is time, reassess. So that goes over how you can be successful in Mr. Martin's physics class. I'm so excited to meet you all and see you. Have a great day.